All right, good morning. Welcome to St. Bridget's Spiritualist Church, October 1st, Sunday service. Before I start with the talk, I just wanted to do some announcements. St. Bridget's has an evening with spirit with special guest Penny Francis from the UK. That will be on October 20th from 7 to 9, and that is $35 a person. You can do an e-transfer, however you want to do it, to get your spot reserved. I strongly suggest doing it as soon as you can, because our seats usually go pretty quick, especially when we have guests and we only have limited space. As well, Penny will also be here for the 21st, 22nd from 9:30 to 4. She will be doing Exploring the Unlimited Potential, which is going to be a 2-day weekend workshop. And the details are online that you can read about it. It is, early bird cost is $190 and regular it's $200. So after October 10th, it'll be $200. So if you want to save yourself $10, then that's good. And you'll need to just bring your own lunch. And again, just you'll have to email Bobby, and she's Bobby at stbridgetspiritualistchurch.ca, and book your seat. Also, you'll have to email Bobby after the workshop. Penny is going to be doing private sittings, and it's $100 per half hour, and she's going to be doing them October 24th to 26th. So if you want to get a spot, please email Bobby, and she will get you booked in. Sometimes she's not right on her email, so don't get anxious if you haven't heard from her, because she works as well full time and everything. So she's got lots of things going on. So those are our events coming up. I really hope that everybody takes the opportunity to come. It's always quite fantastic when we can get someone a little bit different, just to show us. I always believe that it's wonderful to watch other mediums work, or just because then you can see things that maybe sit with you that you haven't seen other people do. And it's always a beautiful thing. All right. So September 30th has been marked as a day for truth and reconciliation. This day is to learn and reflect, as well as to recognize the history and the ongoing legacy of the residential schools. It is to work towards reconciliation by honoring these residential school victims, survivors, and their loved ones. This is actually the 10th anniversary of it. It was started by Phyllis Webstad, and it was 2013 in BC when she shared her story of how she had her brand new orange shirt on her first day at the residential schools, and it was taken away from her. If you have not already done so, I encourage you to reach out to any of the knowledge keepers and the elders to learn of the truths of the atrocities which were committed. And I can't even say atrocities even touches what happened. How awful they were. This has left intergenerational trauma so deep, it's too painful for most survivors to talk about. There are some great books that are out there that actually bring to life how awful these schools were. If possible, I get them on audiobook, and you can actually hear the survivor's voice. You can hear, it brings it to life, opposed to just reading it yourself. They Call Me Number One by Bev Sellers was very powerful to me, so you can get it on audiobook. She has done it, and it's a beautiful book. Fortunately, she passed away last year, but just to bring the stuff, and hers is very muted compared to a lot of what happened. Some of you will get a day off work, so I ask you to please take this time to read and reread the Truth and Reconciliation Commission 94's call to action. Learn about Indigenous history and the residential school system. Identify and acknowledge the territory that you live. Listen and learn. There are many resources to do these things. There's podcasts, you can read stuff online, you can get books, like I said, audiobooks. However you learn best or take in information best, you can do that. You can support and volunteer for Indigenous nonprofits. If you're purchasing orange shirts or anything like that, make sure that you're supporting an Indigenous owned company. Please don't go to Walmart and buy it, because they can say it's going, but it's not going to where it needs to be. Support those businesses that are here. And you can support Indigenous-owned businesses by purchasing from them, following them on social media, sharing their posts, telling your friends about things you've bought. They very much appreciate it, and I can tell you the work that is put into a lot of the products you get is just phenomenal, and you won't regret what you've purchased. You have so many ways to recognize and learn and support the Indigenous community. We should be sharing our love and kindness with them. One person cannot fix it, but your love, kindness, and a shoulder to lean on to a survivor can actually make a difference to them. And that small gesture may be the only one they ever receive. So this leads me to what I also want to talk about today. So I've told the story before, but I just love it so much, and I just think it fits so much into this. So my daughter went to a birthday party a few years ago, and I was always worried about my kids making friends. In particular, my children are Indigenous, so I have that fear for them. And many times I hear from the teachers that, my kids are playing by themselves, or others run away from them, or they're mean to them. And at the time, they hadn't been with us for too long, maybe not a year even, I think. And these are all concerns for all mothers, if their kids are going to fit in or whatever. And it was towards the end of the school year, and I was thrilled she had been invited to a birthday party. It was the first birthday party she'd ever been invited to. So I assumed everybody in the class was invited. When I RSVP'd, the mother was like, oh, she was so excited. He's going to be so excited she can come. And I thought, okay, well, all right, like, over the top for everybody, right? I thought, okay, well, that's odd, whatever. And when I went to pick her up, she was having such a great time. Chuck E. Cheese, but she was having a great time. And I went up to her, and she was so happy. And she just said, Mom, I've just had the best time. And she was just this big smile, and you could see the joy in her eyes. And the boy's father came up to me and said, she was phenomenal today. Again, like, well, that's okay. And I thought, okay, well, that's odd. And I smiled and said, did she use her manners? And he said, well, absolutely. She always does. She's always very kind. And then a few minutes later, he came back to talk to me and said that I had the most amazing little girl. And that's when I found out that his little boy was autistic. This always makes me a little bit teary too. The dad told me that since the beginning of the year, whenever his son started wandering away, my girl would go over and grab his hand and guide him back. Whenever he had a meltdown, she would go over and she would give him a hug, and he would calm right down. Whenever she gave him a hug, everything was all right again. His father said that at the party, he had a meltdown. That's Chuck E. Cheese. There's too many things going. And she was the only one who could make it all right. And I'm so proud of my little girl. I asked her about the hugs, and when he struggles, and she just said, matter of fact, yeah, I always do that, except in math. I can't do it in math. So obviously the math teacher didn't want her doing it in math class. So I looked up the health benefits of a hug and why we need hugs. So this research shows that hugging is extremely effective at healing loneliness, depression, anxiety, and stress. The nurturing touch of a hug builds trust and a sense of safety. My little girl showed me that day that despite a rough start with no idea of what love was, as she was never afforded that attachment, her spirit still knows love. No judgment, just love. And love and touch is healing. The beauty of this to me is amazing. How many times have you felt you just needed something? And even those of you who aren't fond of physical touch. What if we lived our lives like my then 7-year-old girl, who when she sees someone needs a friend, she shares her light. When someone needs reassurance or comfort, she gives a hug. except for her brothers, obviously, but how beautiful our world would be if we just shared our love so freely. Obviously, except in math, because, well, we can't do it then. But when is the last time you shared your kindness with someone? And I just want to challenge everyone to set aside the fear of judgment, because I think that stops us a lot. You know, oh, they're going to think I'm crazy, or they're going to think this or whatever. And if you see someone struggling or a little bit down or not feeling well, just go ask them if you can give them a hug. I know it's a little bit different now because this was prior to 2020, but even if you're not a touchy person, maybe, you know, go grab somebody a coffee and give them a sympathetic ear. And, you know, you don't even need any words. Just let them know that they're not alone. It's pretty crazy what kids teach us. And if we listen, a lot of times people won't listen. So let me see here if anybody has any questions. Dun, dun, dun. No? All right. So thank you very much for joining us for St. Bridget's talk today. And we will see you. Oh, in 2 weeks we'll be back in person online. Next weekend is Thanksgiving, so we will be online.